Bobby.
Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread Conference Preview Edition. This time, we're going with the big one. It is the Big 12. Yeah, that's right. We are talking about the one true champion, trying to determine it out, and this is going to be a little different than our previous ones. As you can see, we have all the boys on deck. We've got Ty Lee, we got Jamison Maxwell, and of course, we got Boatin Blake bringing up the poop deck. We got the full house ready. So instead of what we've done, where we kind of go through, take a couple bets, we're ranking all Big 12 teams, all 10-12 teams, 10 through 1, then talking about each as we go along, and everything essentially will just sort of come out along the way. So we're kind of going to take a overall approach. For example, if everyone has 10, which usually people should, we'll talk about that 10th team. The majority of the 9th team will go and so forth. So it should work. It should be good. I'm asking everyone to trust me here a bit. But anyways, so before we get started, let's kick this thing off. Jamison, how are you feeling about the Big 12 this season? Pretty wide open stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I really do think it's going to be a down year in terms of just competition. I'd say I feel confident about 3 teams this year. And the 4th one, I feel like it's kind of like iffy for some people. I'm a little bit higher than them on others. But I think 3 teams that could be a top 15 team, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Ty, looking at the Big 12 this year, what are you seeing? What are you thinking? Ty is muted. Ty is muted. Who would do that? Who would do that? Who would start talking while they're muted? I can't think of someone who would just do that, but anyways, yeah, it's okay, Ty.
But I think
it's Bobby
I've
mostly
been seeing,
every time.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how wide open the Big 12 is and how competitive it's going to be this year. And frankly, wrong. This is OU's year within the conference. It's always been our year within the conference. Like I said, last podcast, we were backstabbed by our coach and basically lit on fire and tossed into the ocean, which I guess would put out the fire in most cases. But that's what happened last year. It was a fluke. We're coming back. We're going to win the conference. I think that who we're going to face in the championship game is going to be very competitive, and I think there's going to be a lot of mid-level competition. I think there's going to be a lot of great games. So the conference itself will be very competitive. As for the top, no question there. That's not a competition.
Fair enough. Blake, do you share that same assessment?
Yes, and like many 2023 recruits going now, I would like to commit myself to the Shield, boys. We're here for the long run. Unlike y'all are leaving us soon. I'm committed for many, many years to the Shield. This is my favorite conference, and the reason why is one of the only ones where all 10 teams play. It's a round robin. You get one true champion. Unlike 2014, that was the one exception, but we get one true champion now. I love it. I think the conference is wide open. I think there are definitely some contenders, but if you look at it, I think there's 6-7 teams in this conference that are dangerous, that can beat any team in the conference any single week. So, you know how I love my Shield, how I'm the one protector of the Shield on this pod. So, I'm ready to get into it.
The one true protector of the Shield out there. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. So, I'm for it. Well,
to
boys,
clarify,
what's that?
I was just going to say, to clarify for the listeners, Blake recently graduated from Baylor last year, but also claims to be a TCU fan. So kind of confusing as they are rivals, but he is a Baylor alum who also claims TCU fandom somehow, in addition to his Baylor fandom.
He went to 20% of the Big 12 schools. So there you go. Yep. So he's one of the most Big 12iest school of guy out there. Now all you got to do is get a doctorate at a Big 12 school and you're complete. So anyways, let's get down to business.
You want to come back to school? It's really fun, I promise.
The recruitment's open. If one school wants me really bad, I'm on the market.
Get a PhD at UCF. I'm sure it shouldn't be too difficult, and it's a decent destination.
Right?
Yeah,
or fantasy Fantasy
Blake is open
punishment.
all
You have to take.
all NIL opportunities for law school, right?
Yep. I will any place that will pay me, I will go. And also a good fantasy punishment idea would be to take some classes at BYU.
Oh no. Could either all of us get admitted? Have we sinned too much to get into BYU? I don't really know. That's a question for somebody else. But let's get this thing started off. And all right, we're starting off number 10. So Blake, I'm just gonna ask you, tell me who it is, and we'll kind of converse after that. So Blake, is it who'd you pick? It's pretty obvious, right?
Yes, I hope there's not any tomfoolery on this pod, but it is very obviously the Kansas Jayhawks. This team, I will say last year, they ended the season with 2 single-digit losses and a win, which is a big deal in the back half of their season. Like, that basically is a bowl game for Kansas, and I think they will be better this year. I think they will still be 2-10, but I think Jalen Daniels is a pretty good quarterback for Kansas standards. They're trending in the right direction. I think Lance Leopold is going to get this program maybe to like 4 or 5 wins, like which would be really good for them. But I still think it's just the cream of the crop, and the Big 12 is way better from 1 through 9. So 2-10 it is for Kansas.
Fair enough. Jamison, you got Kansas as well?
Yes, and I'm hoping Ty follows suit, because let me throw out the receipts here and let Ty explain himself later about his Baylor pick that he had last year. That is the most egregious thing I've ever seen happen, picking Baylor last in the Big 12 and then seeing what happened to them last year. I hope that he redeemed himself. But yes, here's my thing. I actually liked what Jalen Daniels did at the end of the season. I know I was a Bean man. I loved Jason Bean. I really did. I loved how he was frantically running all over the field, and it seems like he could never do anything. Jalen Daniels actually looked like he was a little calm, cool, and collected, which was kind of weird. And putting up around 50 plus points on Texas takes a little bit of skill. So they'll be at least a little fun to watch, but I think 2 wins is your mark again. Bobby did it. He went, oh my God, he went Mike Silent. He went Mike Silent again.
That's what I get. That's what I get for making fun of Ty for it. But no, I'm with you. I think this Kansas team is about that 2 win. I think they get a 3rd win this year. I think they spice it up. But no, I think Leipold has it in the right direction. It just takes a lot of progress to get there. But Ty, did you or did you not go for it and pick Kansas last this year? Or have you learned from your mistakes? Is Kansas your 10?
Yeah, so real quick, I did pick Baylor last year. Just because I picked them last, just because they won the conference doesn't mean that they're the best team. You can still be the worst team and win. You know, it's like if you can flip a coin 10 times and get heads every time. It's statistically.
Oh, I know all about flipping coins.
Blake knows that coins.
But yeah, this year, last place in the Big 12, it's Kansas. Like we're talking about, they're still very bottom of the barrel, but they're trending upwards, or they seem to be trending upwards. They have a decent coach. He's working on establishing some decent stuff there. I think 2 wins. They have a pretty easy out of conference schedule. They're playing like Tennessee, Nashville Tech or something, and then someone else. And then I think also BYU or somewhat difficult. But I think Kansas, 2 wins, very, very realistic, very achievable. I think potentially 3 wins because crazier things have happened. But yeah, 2 wins, Kansas at 10th in the Big 12.
I'm pretty sure on your sheet you put Kansas at 11 technically.
I did put Kansas at 11. So yeah, for everyone's situational awareness.
It was Duke rather than BYU. I just want to put that out there because that's actually kind of an interesting game in terms of like the bottom of the barrel.
Don't they play like Houston or someone?
BYU plays Baylor in Provo, and then they play someone else. I thought
Houston is who I was confused about on Kansas's schedule.
That's right. Houston plays 2 Big 12 teams.
Okay, but
Texas Tech and Kansas.
Yeah, I did have Kansas technically at 11th. That's because 11th would be the 10th place slot. I have permanently retired the number 6 in memory of Baker Mayfield. RIP. He's not dead. He's just plays for the Panthers now. So basically dead.
Fair enough.
Hey, that's a good thing. Let's just be happy about that.
Fair enough. Absolutely. So, all right, next up, we have number 9. We'll just go rapid fire. We'll let you talk about it in a bit, but Blake, just quick, 3 seconds. Who did you pick number 9?
Texas Tech.
Yep,
Jamison?
Joey McGuire and Texas Tech.
Ty?
West Virginia Mountaineers.
That's the one outlier. I also went with the Texas Tech Red Raiders at 9th. So our old pal Joey McGuire, first year on the job. Let's take a look to see how they're doing, actually.
Strap up, ain't no turning back. Strap up, ain't no turning back. Strap up, ain't no turning back.
Taking over stadiums, putting Lubbock on the map.
Big 12, tell us where you at.
Right in your face like the Big 12 pack.
They ranked us number 9, about to wake them from their nap.
So we ranked them number 9. Are they going to wake us up from their nap? I don't think so. So Joey McGuire, pretty uphill climb, but Jamison, why did you have him 9th? What do you see? Like, why do you think they're going to take a step? Like they're going to stay pretty bad this year?
Don't get me wrong. I like Joey McGuire. It seems like he's kind of doing a good job there and getting them, at least more talked about in the recruiting world. And it seems like their players are pretty confident. My thing is I don't even think they've decided a starting quarterback. And if they pick Tyler Shao, I think that's pretty much solidifies them as a number 9. Now, Donovan Edwards played really good throughout the season last year whenever he had the chance. I mean, Donovan Edwards for Michigan. Donovan Smith played pretty good for them throughout the season, but he doesn't have Eric Ezekanma anymore. And that's going to be really tough to have miss that guy because he was quite, the handicap for that quarterback position. Texas Tech's defense will always be Texas Tech's defense. So if they can get some play out of the quarterback, maybe they could go to 8. But I just got a feeling that there's too many variables calling them at 9.
You're on mute again, Bobby. You did it again.
I
He turned on this camera.
Blake, why do you have Tech at 9?
Yeah, pretty similar to Jamison. I think Joey McGuire was honestly a great hire for them. Like, if you look at their 2023 class right now, I believe it's still a top 20 class, if not top 25. And that's very good for Tech, considering under Kingsbury, they were more in the 40s, and then under whoever was it, Matt Wells, whatever his name was, the Utah State coach for a second, was in the 60s. So they're going to get Matt Wells. Yeah, so they're going to get great talent in a few years, but they made all the right coaching moves. They brought in Joey McGuire. They brought in the Western Kentucky offensive coordinator who's reinstating the air raid at Texas Tech, which is where it's destined to be. That was Mike Leach's brainchild there. I'm glad that they're bringing back the air raid there, but they have no talent anywhere where they need it. They don't really have a good quarterback. They lost 2 NFL type wide receivers. They lost 4 linemen who, when you lose that much on the offensive side and you're relying so much on the offensive side to bring your team success, I hate that. Their defense, like Jamison said, they've historically been just really dreadful, and they have no linebackers this year. So it made it really easy for me to pick them 9, and also just throw in the fact that they're playing U of H and NC State in their non-con. That just gives everything for me. I have them projected at 3 and 9 this year. I think it's going to be a really bad year, and I'm tired of Cactus Gang in my mentions all over me. I know we banned y'all from our stadium from getting tickets, but the only reason why we did that was because you don't go to your home games. We have a better attendance game by game than y'all consistently while we've been in the Big 12. Nobody wants to go to Lubbock. I'm tired of Cactus Gang in my DMs. It's going to be a nice 3 and 9 season for them. They're going to be 9th in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you as well. I have Tech down there, and for all what I said about Joey McGuire last year, misplaced, assault on people whose first name ends in Y, as that was quite literally shooting myself in the foot. I just feel like Joey McGuire, he has a good culture going. It's going to be a good building block here. Recruiting seems to be going well. I just think it's too much. I think it's too far to go. In 1 year, it's gonna be too much for him, and I think Tech just a step below. Ty, so I see you have West Virginia number 9, and I'm gonna kind of ask what about it had you kind of put West Virginia down there, or what what made you put them at 9? And what edge do you see having on Texas Tech? What was that difference maker for you?
So first let's understand how I was viewing the chessboard, and I think that will help you understand the moves that I took. So it's because it's the preseason. A lot of it is essentially a toss up. You never know. So when I was looking at it, I've never been high on West Virginia. I'm a known West Virginia hater. So I've never been high on West Virginia. I understand that a lot of people have Tech down at the bottom, but I was starting to look at it and I wasn't really seeing anything that jumped out as one being, potentially worse. I think Tech gets a lot of coverage because we're close to it. We're just more familiar with it. Like West Virginia is just out there on its own doing who knows what. No one's paying attention, so they could be just as bad. It's just getting less coverage. So I felt that they were pretty equal. And so the way I saw the chessboard was one is located in Texas, which is going to make it inherently or should make it inherently better at football. And then like we talked about, they're trying to go back to their sort of history, because no one there was there when they were running the cool old school air raid back in the day. But it's going back to the stuff that's sort of, as we would refer to, meta for them, like the fun joke, like Tech just running the air raid and being garbage at everything, but just trying to air it out with everyone. And I love that. That's what I like when I think of Tech. So I think there's some sort of inherent advantage there. Obviously, they're going to be garbage. Spoiler alert, they're my next one up. But West Virginia, I think, is also going to be garbage. They're on the East Coast. Nobody knows how to play football on the East Coast. They're in West Virginia. Do they even have flat ground enough to make a football field in West Virginia? I don't think so, because West Virginia is basically just outside of Pittsburgh, and no one in Pittsburgh plays football. Do they even know what football is?
Clearly not.
In Pittsburgh. So yeah, give me West Virginia down at 9. I don't want a glorified ACC team over here trying to outrank a team from Texas, really. So I'm not from Texas, but I had to stand for Texas and make sure that they were ranked ahead of at least West Virginia. And I think that there's got to be some buy-in with the players releasing that video. They're going to get destroyed. It's going to be a hilarious meme, but they at least believe in themselves. So you guys talked about their non-conference. I'm not sure if you're aware, but that doesn't factor into conference rankings. So if they lose all their non-conference, it doesn't necessarily matter, as long as I guess they beat West Virginia and Kansas.
That is true. So, maybe we are sleeping on them. I don't know. So
no, we aren't, Bobby. No, we aren't. They have the most overinflated egos out of like any fan base. They're rivaling like Texas A&M right now in Texas of just like the most like overinflated perception of what their program actually is. They've never had any success. They keep on. They're acting like they're big shots. We're like, we're back to what? Like your best season was when didn't OU knock them out? Like 2008. Like they didn't even do anything with that season. So I'm all out on Tech. Like Tech at best is going to be like a traditional like second or third in the Big 12. I think like the new Big 12. So gotta recruit players to Lubbock still.
They're putting a lot of investment into the program. I see a good future there with McGuire and them, but just ain't happening this year. So Ty, as you mentioned, you have Texas Tech at 8. Blake, who is your 8?
Yep, I'm going with the Mountaineers, so swapping with Ty.
Yeah, same here. I have the Mountaineers at 8. But Jamison, who do you have at 8? Are you with us on the Mountaineer train?
I've got a really bold take on this one. And it's not as much of like comparing West Virginia and this team where I think West Virginia is better than them. I just think some things could go downhill and fast for Iowa State. I really think that there's a lot that's overturned here. And this is a bold pick. I understand I'm deviating from the norm. But, everyone's going to talk about Brock Purdy leaving. But that's not what I'm worried about. Legitimately, all of their playmakers on the offense side of the ball, Breece Hall and Charlie Cole are gone. I understand Xavier Hutchinson's still there. But they have, first-time quarterback and Hunter Decker's coming out. The defense lost 8 starters. And that team was supposed to, be known for their defense last year. What, did they win 7 games? Was that it? 7 games last
Jamison,
year?
Their defense was incredible last year. Like every metric said that defense was incredible. It was their offense that is the issue.
8 starters now they've lost 8 starters and they've lost all their offensive skill players. I'm telling you, I think there is a chance they could slide here. I really do.
So Jamison, where do you have West Virginia? Are you really that big on Neil Brown's West Virginia team? Where do you have them?
No, I have them at 7. And I mean, looking at it, obviously see West Virginia at 8 and Iowa State at 7. But it's just something about I remember I'm looking at it. I could see Graham Harrell and JT Daniels putting out something funky and like pulling off, like one upset or something to like put them over Iowa State. They win one game that they aren't supposed to. Obviously, I see West Virginia. They have a lot of deficiencies. I think losing Letty Brown is a really big hurting point for their offense, and I understand they lost some pieces on defense, but they still have Dante Stills that stays there, and he's a huge piece that has been very impactful for a long time, and he'll be a great leader for that defense. I understand this is bold. I understand this might not be the likeliest, but I thought I just had to put it out there because why just be cookie cutter?
Fair enough. And, before we jump on to a little bit of Iowa State, because, I have a feeling they're going to come up sooner rather than later. Blake, why are you personally fading West Virginia, having them sitting where they're sitting?
Yeah, I think this is the year Neil Brown gets fired. There's really been no energy there. Like, Dana Holgerson was honestly like a really perfect fit coach for them, and they just decided not to pay him. And now we've kind of seen the result of it, that they might make a bowl game, but they produce a very boring style of football. I do agree with Jamison. Like, I think Graham Harreld's going to give them, like, a little bit of vertical attack, which they haven't had. Like, if we've watched West Virginia last year with Daggy, teach me how to Daggy or Dougie or whatever his name is. He had, like, one pass over 20 yards that entire season. Like, it was bad. Like, they couldn't, like, generate offense, like, worth anything. And so I have him here just because there's still a lot of unknowns. Like, I think JT Daniels is a good quarterback, but can he stay healthy? But the reason why I give him the edge over Texas Tech in this spot is just because West Virginia actually produces good defenses year in and year out, which is something Tech doesn't do. So the Tech offense, I'm like, they're probably not going to click because of lack of pieces. And if JT Daniels actually is the 5-star that he is, plus we get a West Virginia defense, I think it could be a decent team. But like the way I project it, 4-8, missing a bowl, and Neil Brown gets fired. So
I'm with you on Neil Brown. I think this is his last year. I think he was a weird fit. I think he kind of had a similar thing that Matt Wells had, where kind of tried to come in and change too much too quickly in terms of just who that program was. And I think he was put in a bad position. And, frankly, I think JT Daniels, I think West Virginia will be as good as they start. I know we're talking about conference games, and obviously Pitt's not a conference game; it should be, but I could see this getting really bad really quick. And because this is kind of the new thing, is I see him getting fired mid-season or resigning mid-season.
I like that,
because that's a new thing. That's a new thing in college football, and I just see West Virginia like snowballing into a dumpster fire. I don't like it. I'm just a little wary of them, and I think this is just going to be a down year for West Virginia. Just never a good fit, and it's just going to be too much. It's going to be too much. They have a tough non-conference. Spirits can get down quick, especially when you start out hot, and I think that's something that kind of happens both to West Virginia and Texas Tech. But, anyways, so let's move on to 7 here. So we know Jamison has West Virginia. He likes Iowa State. He likes Iowa State to be bad. Do we like Iowa State to be bad too? Blake, who do you have at 7?
Yeah, at 7 I got Iowa State as well.
And Ty, do you got Iowa State?
At number 7, I of course have. This is why I was cheering when Jamison started to talk down to them. I would use another word, but we are an advertiser-friendly podcast. If you want to advertise, shout out to our wonderful supporters at DraftKings and the Pigskin Podcast Network. If you want to advertise with us, please hit up Bobby. But I hate Iowa State. They are not good. They shouldn't be in the Big 12. They are a Big 10 team with
there we go.
SEC academics.
They are not a Big 12 team or Big 10 team because they have no academics. They have no academics.
Did you not hear? They are a Big 10 athletic program with SEC academics. That's what I said. Don't take me out of context. I will not stand for that. But yeah, they're trash. Shout out to Matt Campbell, a coward for not going to the NFL when he could.
There it
Number
is.
one,
I knew it.
number one bag fumbler of the century, because now he's being exposed and will continue to be exposed for being garbage, absolute trash at running a football program, because he's trash at running a football program. They're not going to be good this year. I don't think they're going to be better than West Virginia. Goodness, that's a rough one. But I don't think. I'm sorry. I do think. I don't think they're going to be worse than West Virginia because they're on the decline. They're not at rock bottom yet. But yeah, I don't like Iowa State. I hope Iowa State fans are listening to this, and I hope they are upset because I do not care. I don't even. Yeah, I couldn't name you a single player on Iowa State's roster. I just hate them for no reason, and I hope Iowa State fans understand that.
Look, I'm with you. I feel like there was a reason why Matt Campbell was crying during senior day last year, and it's because his golden goose has left the hen house. The entire, that golden generation all graduated at once. So now he's got to rebuild. And frankly, I think it's going to be way too much this year. I think he's still a good coach. I think he's still going to do fine at Iowa State, but he's going to have a down year this year. There's just too much to replace. Just going down the line, Breece Hall, Charlie Kolar. I can't remember the other guy that Mr. Relevant. What is his name? Brock Purdy. Yeah, he's gone too. So that's the thing, is they're just having to replace too much. And, that's what happens when you have 9 captains and they all leave. Now you have no captain. Blake, what's a ship without a captain, Blake?
That is true.
You are right, Bobby, and I'll give you that. And I think Ty actually makes some points, like, half of the college football coaches I felt like this past year they hired somebody new, and Matt Campbell could get a bag during that turnover and just didn't do anything, and kind of set with Iowa State whenever his entire generation of players that he recruited, which honestly made Iowa State relevant. I think people forget after these past few years, last year was obviously disappointing because they came into the season top 10. They were consistently the 9th best team in the Big 12, and it was just because they were beating Kansas each year. Iowa State was terrible, and so props to Matt Campbell for that, but fumbled the bag by not lateraling to a better position. But I'm a little higher on them than the rest of I guess these last 3 teams, just because I believe he has built depth over these past few years, that he's recruited the guys that he needs. As Jamison mentioned, Hunter Deckers, he set the Iowa high school records for yards and touchdowns. I believe in that. That's something that's flashy. That's flashy, and that's why that's what Max Duggan basically did before this Hunter Deckers guy. So that's why I'm high on him. But I think this team is a 6-6 team, and honestly, that is fine. That is a perfect for an Iowa State that 10 years ago was 2-12 or 2-10. 6-6 is great, but Matt Campbell should have gone somewhere else.
Fair enough. We'll see how we can do after now that they've gone. So, all right, moving on to number 6. We're going to go around the horn. Just quickly tell me who you picked. Ty, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so just to clarify, again, I have to pick a number 6. Technically, number 6 is permanently retired in memory of Baker Mayfield. But for my 6th team, I have Kansas State. This is where it starts to get really muddy, but I have the Kansas State Wildcats.
Jamison?
I struggled with this one. I really wanted to pick my number 5 at 6. I went K-State, though.
Blake.
Oh, crap. I look like the worst fan ever. I got the Frogs. The Frogs at 6. God! Oh, God! Hey, Bobby, I swear, join me.
At least you're not alone. I also have the Frogs.
Okay, thank God. If anything, I've come up on the Frogs, this week over past weeks, and I got them at a 7-5 record. That's the best I can give them.
So, I'm with you. I like the potential of TCU. I can't pick them to go higher than what they are, just because I don't know what Sonny Dykes is going to do at TCU. I don't know, I just don't know what they look like, and it's going to be tricky. But I don't know. We'll talk about them a little bit next. I kind of want to talk about K-State first, though. Jamison, why K-State where they're at? I know a lot of people are kind of hyped on them. You clearly think this hype is pretty misplaced, though.
Yeah, not really though. I really don't. I think they'll be good, and I think this 4, 5, 6 is going to be an absolute dog race, or it could be like a 3-way tie, and then just this is what ended up happening. I feel very, very even about my 4, 5, 6, and the thing is, 2 returning preseason all Big 12 offensive linemen with Deuce Vaughn, a guy who's been absolutely producing since he was a freshman. That is, set up for a big time season. That's going to be hard to go against. But then you're putting in a lot of cards into Adrian Martinez. We saw that K-State team without Skylar Thompson. They did not look good without him. It seemed like he was that glue piece. You put in Will Howard, that team looked like they could be the 7th, 8th, 9th team in the Big 12 in some instances. But now with Adrian Martinez, can he be that guy that he was earlier in his career? Or is he going to be in the Nebraska type of Adrian Martinez and kind of screw up the glue of this K-State offense? There's a lot of question marks here, and I thought that there was less question marks with my teams at 5 and 4. Really, Bobby?
Bobby again! He does it again!
I have too many buttons to click, and I keep getting distracted. I'm sorry. Ty, why'd you pick K-State at 6?
Yeah, so let me start by saying I understand the people that believe in K-State. I truly do, and I hear you. Chris Kleiman, I think, is a really good coach. I think he's in an unfortunate situation where he's taken a job that is sort of perennially struggled. I don't even know if that's the right term to use, but they've constantly struggled. They're in a really difficult situation. They're a medium small fish, and relative to them, a pretty large pond. So it's a tough situation to begin with. I understand the people that believe in them. I kind of believe in them too. This is, like I said, it becomes very unclear. I think K-State and TCU are sort of interchangeable. I put K-State lower, and this almost doesn't make sense because I feel like I know what to expect from K-State. A lot of promise, a lot of disappointment, underperformances, but then 1 or 2 games where it really clicks, it really comes together, and things work for him, and we see a shining moment of greatness, which has kind of been the Adrian Martinez story historically at Nebraska as well. So I feel like that's a perfect pairing. So I understand the K-State hype, and I almost knock them because I feel like I know what to expect from them much more than TCU. So spoiler alert, I have K-State here. TCU is my next one, but I think because I know sort of more or less what to expect from K-State, I know where their ceiling is. And I think TCU, if things click, has a little bit of a higher ceiling. So I went with that. So I'm sort of betting on the Frogs, but that explains my methodology.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. So since we're kind of split here,
Or
like evenly, we're evenly
Bobby,
split.
before we get into that, let's revisit a take back on the weekend spread last year when he said Chris Kleiman is a better coach than Dave Aranda. How do you feel about that take these days?
I said that?
No, Bobby. Bobby.
Yeah, sorry. He's a better coach than Matt Campbell. Both are.
Okay, so obviously that was a little bit of hyperbole. I'm still very big on Chris Kleiman, though. I think he's going to have a good year. That's all I'll say for now.
But Dave Aranda level?
Dave Aranda, I mean, maybe one day. I think he can get there. I think
how things change quickly.
I think I think this is going to be a really big year for K-State, and we'll get there when I get there.
Okay.
But since we're split at 6, let's go ahead and talk about TCU, your Frogs, Blake. So go a little bit in depth. What you've been seeing. You're our Frog expert. What have you? Is this like a vote of no confidence in TCU? Is this you want to see more? Like you obviously have a better pulse on the Frogs than any of us. So what are you feeling?
Yeah, like, the reason why I have them rated so low is just because, like, if you think about last year was kind of supposed to be our year to be a sneaky, like, Big 12 contender just with the amount of returners we had, plus, like, defensive weapons, stuff like that. It obviously didn't work out. But the reason why I don't have them high this year is just because we're kind of like Texas light in a way. We don't have a quarterback for one, like Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers out in Texas. Ours is between Chan God and and Max Duggan. I love Chandler Morris. I want him to be our quarterback, but honestly, like you get a similar experience where Max Duggan has been starting for 3 years, has started games and has played honestly pretty well. Like there's been some games where he has downs, but games he has ups, and so he brings that experience. But also at the same time, it's like Chandler Morris. It's like we have 2 starts that we've seen under his belt. We had the Baylor game where he went absolutely crazy, and I think people forget that like Baylor would have been in the college football playoffs had they not lost to TCU that game. Like that is how crazy Chandler Morris's like high points are. But then fast forward to the next week, he goes against OSU. It's horrible. He gets injured, but even before then, he's throwing picks. He's a high upside guy, but like that's who I want to lead my team. I think Sonny Dykes is taking the program in the right direction. Like I think our recruiting classes are going to be just as good as they were under Gary Patterson. Offense is going to be great this year, but the defense has no weapons. We saw it last year. They were porous, and they brought in Joe Gillespie from Tulsa, who I think is a great defensive coordinator, but like obviously you have nothing to work with, and there's nobody on the defensive line. There's nobody in the linebacking core, and like our only good corner is Hodges Tomlinson, and like I'm thankful that he came back. So it's going to look a lot like an SMU team where we're just going to be in shootouts. So that's why I have to limit their potential, just because like shootout type teams can't win big games. They can win the easy ones and the people under them, and I think we have a good non-conference schedule to help with that, but I just see I don't see many ways that we like start cracking the top 5 of these Big 12 schools just with the roster that we have.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think in year 1, Sonny Dykes' team it's very high ceiling, low floor to me. And I kind of am picking like I think they could go as my floor for them would be about 7. But so this is kind of being conservative with them. I think they could definitely take a jump if they get hot. I think I'll say this. I think they bag a big upset. Sonny Dykes teams, as Blake, as you know, those SMU teams would always come in. You know, they're really rascally. They're really wild. They'll sneak up and bite you. And, you know, I think that's going to spread to his new team. I think they get a big upset. I hate to feel like it's going to be OU, but I kind of feel like it's going to be OU.
It's not going to be OU. It's we're cursed.
OU, Texas.
We're
it's
cursed.
Got those weird vibes.
We always play y'all the week before, the week after, and it just like it never works out. It's just like, yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough. We'll see how it goes. I'm just saying I'm not feeling comfortable going into that game. So definitely interested to see how TCU does this year. So let's move on. We've got this next one's weird. Now we're into the top half of the Big 12, and this is where we're going to get a little bit heated. It's going to get a little bit wild, and we're going to see how we do with it. So let's start this thing off. Ty, who do you have in your 5th spot? You already said it was
yeah.
TCU,
So not only are we not moving on, it's not heated at all. I have TCU. Just a quick point on TCU. One, I love their schedule. I know Blake loves their schedule. He didn't mention, but opening up at Colorado. I'm a known Colorado fan and sympathizer. I wish I could go to. I would love to go to that game too. I'm also. It doesn't always show up on camera, but I am wearing purple, so TCU fans don't hate me. But TCU's offensive coordinator, OU fans, we must hate them. Their offensive coordinator, a guy named Garrett Riley. Yes, that Riley family, Lincoln Riley's younger brother. So certainly we must wish eternal, again, advertiser friendly. So we're going to use the word punishment on that bloodline. So hopefully they will be terrible, but I think they are 5th in the Big 12. Like I said before, them TCU and K-State, who knows? I think they're sort of neck and neck. There's a lot of tiers within the Big 12 this year. I think 4 through 2 and arguably 1 is really its own. That's where the fun games are going to be. But yeah, maybe TCU has some upset potential. Maybe they don't. I love their schedule. I think it's really cool playing SMU as well. I'm kind of worried about the OU game as well, just because I have that weird weird sort of PTSD from our freshman year of college in 2014. I don't know why. I just have a weird feeling every time we go to Fort Worth. But OU runs North Texas, so I'm not that worried.
Blake screaming "rush the field" will echo in my head forever, and it will never go away. I will never not be worried about games.
Wait a second. Wait, Bobby. Wait, Blake. I'm not going to ask Bobby because I don't trust his answer. Blake, did you rush the field?
Oh my God, yes.
What did Bobby
seen
do?
the video?
What did Bobby do when you rushed the field? No, I remember the video.
He sent me a depressed Snapchat in like the 300s, just like
so Bobby
these
did not
guys.
rush the field. Because there have been allegations that Bobby potentially has rushed the field when opposing teams have beaten OU. I know he's done it at OSU. He will deny it.
No, I haven't.
He will deny it. We have the evidence. We have the emails. Lock him up. He's rushed the field in Stillwater after they've beaten OU.
Are we putting up like a November 26th convention or something? Like, you gonna try to figure out what I did?
The fact that you know the date. The fact that you know the date.
Yep, that's Bobby has it circled. He's like, he wrote in his diary, November 26th.
Every year.
It finally happened. OSU to the Big 12 championship.
Jeez. So okay,
I want to see the flight logs.
Okay. Blake, who do you have at your fifth?
So I'm reversing it. I'm going Kansas State here.
Okay. Jamison, did you do a flip flop? Do you have TCU at 5 or?
Hey Blake, listen close, because let me tell you something. You know, this feels like NBA draft lottery where we're going. And with the 6th pick is the Kansas State Wildcats. And with the 5th pick, your team still hasn't been picked yet, Blake. The 5th pick, the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Wow. Isn't this getting crazy? Jamison's list is a little wild.
Hey, look, if you want to hear a little wild, my number 5 team in the Big 12, the Texas Longhorns.
Oh my God! Oh my God! There is no... Okay... There is no way you have K-State high enough, Bobby, and there's no way you have TCU high enough. What the heck are y'all doing? What are y'all doing?
Man. This is great because Blake loves hedging in the preseason.
There is no way TCU is in the top 4 of the Big 12. There is absolutely no way.
Bobby,
he
you
loves
have
hedging
Kansas State in the top 4?
Of course he is. He loves that Chris Kleiman. He wants vengeance. The fact that he came out, he's like, oh, Chris Kleiman is a better coach than Dave Aranda. And it was one of those, like, ending with a Y type name takes that we were all just like, what the heck are you talking about, dude? Like, Dave Aranda is, like, obviously a way better coach. And Bobby, here he goes. He's going to have him in, like 3 or 2.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. So
you better have the Frogs at 4, Jamison. That's all I gotta say.
So let's embrace debate here. Which one of these picks is the wildest? Are we saying? Probably Texas or OSU at Texas at 5, or I guess OSU being as low as they are.
I think
Texas.
At 5 is.
I think Texas.
That's fair. So we've talked about all these teams, and we'll get into the meat of it. Let's move on to our next one. So who do you guys have at 4? Let's not waste time. Let's go straight into it. Ty, who do you have at 4?
So at 4, I have Texas, which on the surface level is only one higher than you, but it's the team that you have left still on the board that's alarming. So I have Texas at 4. I assume I'll get an opportunity to delve into that a bit deeper here in a second.
Jamison, do you have the Frogs at 4? Who do you have at 4?
Who do you think I have at 4, Blake?
You better be the Frogs.
You think so?
There's no way. Dude, there is no way. If you do that, pick them as like 2 or 1. Like, at least go all the way and just be like, oh, Sonny Dykes gonna lead them to the championship. Don't put them at like 3. What does that take? You better be 4. Okay, thank God. I was like, thank God. What a horrible take if you put them any higher.
I said earlier that my 4, 5, and 6 I feel could be in a 3-way tie. I just think that there could be some kind of funkiness between them. And obviously, I've been saying it for a while now since the offseason. I'm pretty low on OSU moving into this season.
Yeah. So, Blake, who do you have?
I got OSU, like a rational human being, OSU.
So, like a normal, rational human being, I also have OSU at 4.
Holy Bobby, no. When are we going to address this? Do we got to wait till you come around and actually give us the take, or like, are we just going to?
I made the graphic. OSU's at 4.
This is
Or
why.
not that, but
This
it's
is
not
why.
who you said OSU at 4. It's who hasn't been shown that needs to be discussed.
This is exactly why Bobby was being shady as hell before the podcast about what
agree.
the format and what was going to be discussed would be, because he knew that he had a garbage take that he was going to have to defend.
So I'm not gonna lie, my list changed several times throughout the day, and
Wait,
the
when did you
team we're talking
What
about
do you
has jumped
mean?
around a lot.
Wait. When did you finalize your list?
I mean, it came right up down to the wire.
So
It's when he made the graphic.
You
It's when he
asked
was
all of
dragging
us-
the little
You
things.
You asked all of us to text us your list beforehand. Blake and I texted you a list yesterday. Jamison
Oh.
texted you a list several hours
Do you
ago.
think I'm trying to intentionally?
No.
No, I want to hear. No, but I know Bobby has his convicted bad takes, and I know he's been
This is that-
murmuring
just-
at this.
This is like last season with the picks, where Bobby kept putting himself last every single episode, so he'd listen to everyone else's picks, and then he could game the game.
What?
Oh
How am I
my
gaming the game by having
Well, this
Kansas
is-
State at a
I-
number?
I had access to these the weekend spread Excel sheet where Bobby would put his picks down in the Excel, and then Blake would pick something, and you could see Bobby's gears start turning in his brain. He completely switched it. I'm like, expose this man. He had him locked down in the files. It's changing them.
I've
Yeah,
been
give him some
flipping.
pussy.
I've been flipping all day. I wasn't sure, because honestly, I feel like 3 through 5 can go any way, and I'll get down to it. Like whenever I reveal my third team, who could it be? Nobody knows. But for now, let's talk about Oklahoma State. Let's get on. We haven't talked about them yet. They've already been 3 of the 4 of us have already picked them. Jamison, you faded them the most, having them at 5. Why are the Pokes at 5 on your list?
Yeah, that's my thing, because I think there is a lot of hope that Spencer Sanders is going to be the reason that they can be a competent Big 12 team, a top 4 Big 12 team. But as we've said that in the past, that is not the case. That man, I feel like, has so many deficiencies in his game. We always say the Spencer Sanders moon ball. I feel like he has a lot of accuracy problems. Obviously, we saw he's got a lot of problems with, dealing with pressure that we saw at the end of last season. I think they're, losing Jalen Warren might be one of the biggest things that people won't talk about moving into this season. He got a lot of carries. There's some games you get like 28 something carries, and understand people are high on Dominic Richardson. I still got to see that. And then losing their top 4 tacklers on their defense and losing Malcolm Rodriguez, who is the heart of their defense, and losing their defensive coordinator, which made their whole identity as Oklahoma State being a competent team last year. I just think a lot is put on Spencer Sanders' shoulders, and I just don't believe in him.
Yeah, I don't think people have really focused in on the loss of Jim Knowles as much as they should have. I think that's a devastating loss to that team. He was an incredible defensive coordinator, completely redid OSU, and like you said, his defense was what they hung their hat on. That's why they were so good. That being said, the reason why I have them over Texas is I feel like Mike Gundy is established enough. They're good enough. I think Spencer Sanders and LD Brown, they're not great, but I feel like they have enough to just scoot out a little bit ahead of Texas. I don't like Texas's culture. I feel like they're heading down a downward path, and I feel like it's just I liked Oklahoma State just a nudge better than Texas this year. Yeah, Blake, your thoughts on the Pokes? Ty, I know, I noticed they're not on your list yet, so I know you're high on them. So I'll get to you in a moment. But Blake, why do you have OSU at 4?
Yeah, I think OSU honestly is gonna have a pretty decent record. I projected them 9-3. But y'all kind of mentioned it. It's like Jim Knowles leaving with 8 starters on that defense is a really big deal. It's like the first time we saw OSU really succeed in the Big 12, really had that moment where they got over OU to make the Big 12 championship. It's because of their defense. And that defense no longer exists. We have to rely on Spencer Sanders, which I need to drop here, I agree with y'all in the sense that the Big 12, All-American, first team, whatever you call them, is robbed because Spencer Sanders last year was QB1 on the Big 12, on the Big 12 first team, which makes absolutely no sense. He's a horrible quarterback, but I think Mike Gundy has a better culture there with better players than Kansas State, so that's why I have to rank him a little bit above. It's like, I think they get similar floors, but OSU gets a little higher ceiling just because I have seen in my lifetime Mike Gundy piece together really good offenses, and they did bring in a good defensive coordinator. Like, people forget that. Was it Derek Mason from Auburn? Old Vanderbilt coach?
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And so, they bring in a great coordinator, and so it's like Jim Knowles was fantastic at his job, but they bring in somebody that's solid enough. So I like their floor a little bit better than Kansas State, and also their ceiling. So that's why they're at 4.
Fair enough. Yeah, no. So Ty, what do you like about OSU to have them in your top 3?
Yeah, so I'm not going to reveal where they are right now, but I guess I'm going to touch on them now. I'll touch on them a little bit more when they come up again. But with OSU, I feel like I know what I'm getting. I feel Mike Gundy's is his 18th season at OSU. That is a ridiculous time for a college coach in the modern era. He is that program. He is the program. He's gone through a lot of different coordinators, a lot of different, everything, a lot of different players, obviously there. And he's constantly kept them in a really good spot in the Big 12. I almost think of OSU, and I don't want this to sound, down on OSU, and I don't want this to sound down on OU as well. So I guess I'm going to offend everyone with this take, but what OSU is to the Big 12 is what OU is to the national stage since 2000. We've always been there. We've always been relevant. Obviously, there's been some ups and downs. There's been some years where we've had a better chance to win the national championship, or OSU has had a better chance to really dominate the Big 12. But it's just one of those, perennially we've been just sort of a tier off. Just we've missed that edge. And in summary, I'll address sort of Texas right now. I know we're about to talk about them a little bit more, but Texas, I just don't know. And I talked about sort of downgrading K-State because I felt like I know what I would get from them versus TCU, where they could have a higher ceiling. I think Texas has a higher potential ceiling than OSU, but I think achieving that higher potential ceiling for Texas is much less likely. It's a very, very rare thing. So OSU, I feel like I know what I'm going to get from them. So for that reason, and the fact that I sort of believe in what they're doing up there in Stillwater, they are still on the board, untied to a number yet for me.
That is true. So let's go ahead and reveal our third pick. Jamison, kick us off. Who do you have at number 3?
Probably something different than y'all. I've got Baylor.
Interesting. Blake, who do you got?
Whack. I got Texas.
Okay, so it's K-State. I got K-State at 3.
Oh, dang. I was hoping you would go into the 1 or 2.
No, I couldn't do it because honestly, I feel like K-State's way closer to 5 than they are to 2. I think it's really a toss-up between those 3 teams to me.
Then why'd you rank them at 3?
Because I
that's the closest number to 2 besides 5.
Makes
I
no
put Kansas State. I put Kansas State at 3 because I like their home games more. I feel like they have really winnable, good home games, and their 2 road games, at Oklahoma, at Baylor, like that are really, really tough. That I think they could, that should be auto losses. I don't know. I feel like they're rascally enough to take one of those. So I think they're going to take care of business at home, and even if they lose both of those, then I think it's enough to just barely inch them ahead of Oklahoma State and Texas. I especially because they get both of those teams at home. So I think, great record against Texas at home traditionally. I feel like they're a thorn in OSU's side. And then I think they're better than Iowa State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Kansas. So that's my thought process with it. I think it sets up well for them to beat OSU and Texas and then take care of business with the rest of them. That's my thought process anyways.
Ye who puts too much faith in Adrian Martinez to do something good.
Hey, that's fair. It's not even really about Martinez. It's about Kleiman for me. I think they're going to be a better team.
Oh,
this year.
Jesus, Bobby.
Last year,
Kleiman's an all right coach.
Last year, their quarterback situation was awful.
But they have Deuce Vaughn, who's a great running back that can bail out these guys.
You can't bail out horrible Howard. He was the worst.
Yes, you can. They literally did. That's what they did, Bobby.
They went 8-5. But what if you have a moderate quarterback? That is how you get from 8-5 to like, I don't know, 9-4.
Yeah, but what happens if the entire Big 12 like raises their level of competition this year?
I don't
which
think they
a lot
do.
of teams are. You
I
don't?
don't
With a lot of these coaches, like Texas, TCU, even like a West Virginia, compared to last year, Texas
different.
Tech.
I think they make things different, but I don't know.
Even having Texas
I
at 4 means
K-State,
you're raising the level a little bit.
I think K-State raises their level a bit. I'm kind of big on K-State. It's not about Martinez. I don't think he completely changes that, like, at all. But he's more reliable than Skylar Thompson, who kept getting beat up. And if you look at their schedule last year, they didn't lose that badly. They never really got blown out once. And I feel like they're closer to. I just like them a little bit more than Oklahoma State and Texas. That's just kind of my thought process with it. I know it's a hot take. I know it's wild, but I like K-State there. I know I've been burnt by them before, but you know what? I'm putting it back. I'm putting my money back into K-State. I'm going back for another coin flip, even though I've lost like 7 times on K-State.
They are a high floor, no ceiling team. We'll ceiling.
See how it goes.
Like they're destined for 5 or 4. Like they're just no ceiling. That team can't go anywhere.
I'm out on OSU and I'm out on Texas this year. I think they have major dips. But Ty, who do you have at 3?
Texas can't have a major dip when they didn't make a bowl, Bobby. This would be a raise.
Okay, maybe not a major dip, but I think they stay stagnant. I am so out on Steve Sarkisian.
Bobby, they didn't make a bowl last year. How do you have them at 4 and not making a bowl? There's no way the Big 12 only has 4 bowl contenders. There's going to be 6 or 7. Whatever they do is they're going to make it.
It's not like it's 3 and 5 in the Big 12 is really not like decided by that much because everybody plays everyone. As you know, one true champion. But like, it's not that. It's going to be tight. There's a situation where this comes down to the last day and it flips on my head. There's a chance we go into that last day. I'm gloating about K-State being ahead of Texas, and it flips. I really think 5 through 3 is that volatile.
Yeah, Blake, I'm with Bobby here. I think you're totally off base. I have no idea what you're on about. I cannot comprehend how you're taking this stance, Blake.
What the heck? Like K-State. Bobby's like, oh, Texas, it would be the same as last year. No, it's not. 4th in the Big 12, 5th in the Big 12 is not the same as last year. I don't get why y'all are all on K-State. K-State's an all right team. They're a good team. They got Deuce Vaughn. They got their 3 stars and their JUCO transfers that buy in, but no ceiling. Just like every other K-State team we've seen in the past. No ceiling.
Those K-State teams have won Big 12s with those no ceiling, gritty dudes.
Do you understand what no ceiling to me means? That like there's no like upper limit, which means like they're
Colin Klein was a great quarterback and we knew that, but I know exactly what this K-State
ceiling
team
means.
is.
There's nothing holding them back. Maybe I misunderstand.
No ceiling means no upside. Like I know what this team is. They are
2 different things.
No, like floor means
no one
the base
to the. So saying there's a glass ceiling means that there's unlimited upside.
No, you're confusing 2 different like metaphors.
2 different definitions for the word ceiling.
Yes, ceiling means your potential, your upside. Yes, there is no debate about this. What has been used on sports talk radio for years, ceiling means upside.
No, you're correct. There's no debate about the definition of a word.
We need to move on, Bobby. Corral us.
Hold on.
God.
Ty, who is your 3? Just
Texas.
Tell us your 3s. Okay. Wait,
Wait, what? No, 4's
No,
Texas.
I was trying to pull one over on Bobby. Yeah, mine is
Bears. Oh, here we go.
Fading Baylor again.
That's not that crazy of a take. Baylor at 3, not that crazy. Come on.
No, I don't think that's crazy. I think what Bobby did is lunacy, but that's
Yeah.
We'll see.
Certainly.
No,
So
we won't
anyways,
see. I know. I'm telling you right now, my man. They are gonna be 4th or 5th. Like, just live with it. Just accept it. This is your take right here. Is Chris
okay,
Kleiman
fourth or
over
fifth?
Dave
Okay, so you
Aranda.
said 4th, 1 away is lunacy?
Yes, yes. When you're talking about these
No,
margins,
it's not.
Bobby, 3rd means you're in contention for the Big 12, usually till the end. And I'm saying Kansas State's not gonna be that way.
Look, man.
Wrong.
Last year was a weird year for the Big 12 where there were 3 teams kind of up for it. I don't know. I'm sticking with it. Let's move. Let's talk about 3. Let's talk about Texas because everyone's picked. Has everyone picked Texas yet?
No,
Yeah, everyone.
wrong.
3. So other than Jamison, who has Texas in a championship game for sure,
Yes.
we've all picked Texas. So let's diagnose them. Where do you think Sarkisian and his Texas Longhorns are going to take a leap this year? And let's talk about it.
Kick it to somebody.
Blake.
Me?
Yeah. You,
Okay. So I kind of agree with Jamison here. Like, if we're gonna go upside, this is the highest upside team in the Big 12. The Texas Longhorns, they got one of the better transfer classes, top 5.
The highest upside in the Big 12.
Yes, for
You know
sure.
I have the power to remove you from this podcast. How do
Oh,
Okay, I'm
God,
done.
and now everything.
Oh no! Now everything.
I have
Bobby's gonna
30
get
Blake's
mad.
picks. I do not like Blake's
Nope.
picks because they're so chalk, so boring, no character in them.
It's not character. I'm just
There you go, Blake. Now
smart
you have to
about
live with
these. Gosh. But
anyways,
yeah, Texas has the highest upside because their offense can be truly elite. They have the best wide receiving core in the Big 12. Yes. Why are y'all doing these weird faces? They literally have one of the perfect recruits at quarterback, and there's only been a handful of them. Yes, he is. Stop. Y'all keep
I
on
agree.
trying to say
what about him is perfect to you, Blake?
it's
Is it more
just
of
a
like
fact.
physical
It's just
attraction, or is it like an emotional thing? Or
oh my
what was
god.
Tate Martell's recruiting ranking?
He was a 4-star, I believe, right?
Yeah, he wasn't. He was not anywhere close.
Yeah,
to
he
Quinn
wasn't.
Ewers,
He's
but-
not. You're trying to got me, but I know my stuff. So, Quinn Ewers is one of the perfect recruits. If he ends up being a Heisman style quarterback, they easily have potential to be in the Big 12 championship. He has the cast around him. Great wide receiving core. Bijan Robinson, of course, is back, who's going to be the best running back in the Big 12. But really, the only thing they have to worry about, I guess Texas has a lot of things to worry about because culture being an issue is obviously something that can hinder you mightily. But 3 defensive coordinators in the last 4 years, they got to get the defensive side of the ball to be somewhat reliable. Over the last 4 years, I think they've only been in the 50th percentile once on defense. Their defense has been abysmal. You're not going to win the Big 12 or not even make it to the championship with that level of defense. But I do like them sitting on the outside looking in. I just put them at a safe 8-4, but I like Jamison's thinking better than y'all's. I think they're I like that higher variance. I like that variance factor that they could make the Big 12 championship. So,
Ty, your rebuttal.
yeah, so when it comes to Texas, right, I believe that Texas could potentially win the Big 12. I don't want to be labeled as a Texas sympathizer, but Texas is one of those teams. They always recruit the talent, and on paper, they have the coaching staff there. They could be a playoff team, but it's just there's something else going on there, whether it's the dynamics between whatever else is going on that just sort of makes Texas one of those places where it's not conducive to growing a really successful program in the past decade or so. So I understand the Texas hype. I truly do, but I don't think they necessarily. Like I said before, I think when it comes to Texas, Baylor, and Oklahoma State, they're all sort of right there together. It could go either way with all of them. I truly believe that, but it's just Texas has a track record of constantly getting tons of hype and then underperforming. That's not the case with Baylor, and that's certainly not the case with OSU. So maybe it's a sort of brands and expectations type thing. I understand that as well, but I just don't. I don't think it's a reasonable assumption to bet on Texas being in the Big 12 championship. If you want to talk about potential scenarios for Texas that have a more than 2% chance of occurring, I think there's more than 2% chance of stringing together some sort of fantastical Texas national championship scenario. It would involve something like Nick Saban being kidnapped by some sort of organized whatever group for whatever reason, and Bama just totally shutting down and all sorts of other things. But it's the potential is there. So I don't want to, I'm not down on Texas. I'm not necessarily up on Baylor or OSU. I think they're all right there, and I really don't think anyone knows right now. There's so many factors. Texas has, undeclared who's going to be their quarterback, who's going to be this, who's going to be that. They have it. There's a lot of stars there. If things start to click for Texas, they're going to be a dangerous program, but they've never been able to get that fire going. So a lot of sparks and no flame at Texas has sort of been the story since Mac Brown left. And I don't see anything, drastically changing in this offseason.
So how many Big 12 wins did Texas have more than a touchdown last year?
It could be many at all. Yeah.
One. They beat Texas Tech 70-35, and then the rest of the year, 2 Big 12 wins, 1 by 5 against TCU, and then 1 by 5 against Kansas State. So,
wait, how many? I'm sure you probably don't know off the top of your head, but how many losses do they have by more than 1 touchdown? Because I feel like it's also not that many.
That's a fair point. So you have Iowa State and let's see, Iowa State, Oklahoma State,
Kansas.
There you go. Yeah, that's fair. So only 2 of those were by 1. So that's the thing, is it is a bit more of a gambly team. So I think there's a lot of good things to say about that. I think I think Texas really is going to take a bit of a leap, but maybe not. I think that culture is just kind of rotten, and in retrospect, I think 5's a little too low. I think it's going to be a bit of a jumble there in the middle, though. So I just think they kind of end up. If you looked at it, you saw like a really big bottleneck at the bottom. You had 3 and 6 teams because TCU was bad. They just gave up. Texas Tech was bad. They just gave up. And then Kansas was bad. And then I don't know. I think it'll just be. I think it'll just be the bottleneck will be a little bit higher this year. So that's my prediction, anyways. So. All right. That's my thoughts on Texas. Let's move on to number 2. And
let me give my reasoning why I'm going to pick Texas number 2 here first. Let me
go for it.
Button in here since we stay on this Texas.
Yeah,
talk.
that's a good segue.
I didn't know you might have picked him 1.
Yes, well, they're going to be my number 2, and so y'all can pick your number 2s after me, and we can talk about Baylor probably. But here's the thing with Texas, and I think that as y'all started talking with each other, y'all started realizing, like, yeah, I can kind of see it. I understand that I don't want to see it. We've been seeing a bunch of crap from Texas, in the past season, the off season. There's things coming out, about Quinn Ewers and Hudson Card just not looking good in camp and throwing interceptions left and right. But here's my thing. I think, whoever emerges from that, it could be Hudson Carter, Quinn Ewers. I think the weapons that they have is going to make them elevate to a level where they're going to get over that hump that they're having right now, and they're going to be a very good team. I think Bijan Robinson's the best running back in the country. I'll put it out there. Blake said he was the best in the Big 12. I think Bijan Robinson's the best in the country. He is a scary dude, and whenever he was healthy last year before he got hurt, unstoppable. He was hard. Like the couple downs that Oklahoma got where we could stop him for only a couple yards, we thought was a miracle. You don't see or feel that in many players through college football. And then Blake was kind of hinting at it at their wide receiving crew. Isaiah Nair from Wyoming, the transfer, is a huge piece for them next to Xavier Worthy. Like, these are 2 really, really good wide receivers. And don't forget, they also have Jordan Whittington, who also made a lot of good plays for them. That's 3 wide receivers I feel very confident about. And I also agree with Blake. That's the best wide receiving crew in the Big 12, even over Oklahoma, which is tough to say out loud. But obviously, whenever you have a guy like Xavier Worthy, it's great. That will elevate the level of the quarterback. And, the defense might have some holes, but they have a guy at each level of the defense that I feel confident on. Alfred Collins, the guy who showed some things, and he can be a very good player if he comes into himself into this year. I think Demarion Overshown returning is a big deal for them, a tackling machine. And then Deshaun Jamison is a huge playmaker. I think he's a great player at that cornerback position. I think they have the star power to get them to the number 2 spot. And honestly, to be in the number 1 and number 2 spot in the Big 12, I think you need stars to get you there.
Okay. I think that's fair. That's fair. So, let's move on. Let's do everyone's number 2 then. Blake, who do you have?
Yep. Mine's Baylor Bears. And my reasoning for this is fairly easy. I love their schedule. I think they have the best offensive and defensive line in the Big 12. And as I said on many of these previews, like that's where your momentum starts. Like if you have a good offensive line and a good defensive line, you're probably going to be a pretty good team. And Baylor has that. And plus, I just think that even though they lose Abraham Smith as the running back, they lose 2 of their, or even more than 2, 3 of their top wide receivers, and they lose 2 of 3 all-defensive first-teamers for the Big 12. They lose a lot, but I love Dave Aranda as a coach. I would chop a pinky off for him to be my coach. I think he is incredible. I think
he is your coach. You went to Baylor.
No. I did go. I went to 20% of the schools. One I went to through longer, so if you break it down, it's like more like 12 and 8% of which ones I went to. But even though they don't bring back the skill positions or some of like the key defenders, they have movement on both sides of the ball that I love. I love Blake Shapen as a quarterback, not just because of the namesake, but and the fact I'm going to miss Gary Bohannon so much. I loved Gary Bohannon last year, but Blake Shapen looked awesome in the first half of the Big 12 championship. So I think they're steady. They don't lose stupid games. Like that's the benefit of like in the Big 12, sometimes it's not necessarily being the second best team, it's just being the most consistent team. And so I think Baylor, although it's a safe pick, I think number 2 team.
Yeah, Blake, I'm riding with you on Baylor as well. I think they're obviously they have lost a lot of production, but I think the coaching's there. I think the scheme is there. And, I think they're going to be just steady enough to get 2. I think it's going to be a really interesting race for the championship. But frankly, I'm with you. I think Baylor's just kind of a cut above, at least when it comes to culture right now, from the rest of the pack. Ty, who do you have again? Who OU or OSU at 2?
Yeah, so I have OSU at 2. If you will afford me like a minute to explain my reasoning. So like I said, I've sort of set my piece on Baylor or Texas. When it came down to OSU versus Baylor, I did our favorite sort of preseason picking thing, and that's schedule analysis. So let me present to you Baylor's schedule first. Baylor has to go to BYU. I'm not saying BYU is that good, but September 10th, that's really early to be traveling and playing a what should be a big marquee game. I think BYU is going to bring their best. They know they're coming to the conference, and this has sort of big game potential in the future. They're going to Iowa State, not that important. They're going to West Virginia, kind of a pain in the butt to travel that far. But Baylor has to go to Texas. They have to go to OSU, and they have to go to OU. That's a tough schedule in terms of within the Big 12. The next 3, if Baylor's the best team because they're the defending champs, the next 3 best teams, they have to go and play those teams at those teams' home spots. That's rough. Oklahoma State, by comparison, plays in Oklahoma 7 times. One of those is in Norman, but I don't necessarily know that when it comes to Bedlam, OU has that much of an advantage by it being a home game. I don't necessarily think that there's really a Bedlam home advantage very much at all. But other than that, they play both games and they play both Kansas teams in Kansas, and then they play in Waco and they play in Fort Worth. That is comparatively, they're going to have home field advantage in their most crucial games outside of OU. And I think that's sort of the deciding factor, especially when it comes down to 2 teams that I think are very different, but very equal in terms of what they're going to present in performance on the field. And I'm going to give it to OSU just because of home field advantage in a couple games that will probably decide it. Like I've said before, spoiler alert, OU's at number 1. They're going to win it, but I think it's it's sort of a toss-up between all these other teams. And if it's going to come down to a head-to-head between OSU and Baylor, I think OSU is probably going to carry the day just because of some advantages when it comes down to the OSU versus Baylor game.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean about Bedlam and Norman not feeling the same, but at the same time, at OU, at K-State, and at Baylor feel like three of the tougher, road games. Even no matter what you say about K-State,
even then,
that environment can be loud.
Yeah, even then, though, I think Baylor has a harder schedule. Like in Norman, in Austin, in Provo, and then in Stillwater is certainly harder than Manhattan.
That's fair. No, it's no wait. Baylor
Baylor's
plays
at home
OSU
versus
in
Oklahoma State.
yeah.
Okay,
Baylor plays
sorry.
Oklahoma State at home.
Okay,
so
well, yeah.
So wait, does
I
your
still
analysis
think,
then go out the door?
No.
Because
So
you said it
still
all
think,
relies on the OSU
sorry,
Baylor matchup.
I got some OSU and OU mixed up there. I still think Baylor. I think OSU has the edge there against Baylor. I'm known to be down on Baylor, right? Like I picked them dead last in the conference. They were the worst team. Doesn't matter if they won it; they were still the worst team. We can define worst in many ways. It depends on what your definition of is. Honestly, that's a good. Hopefully, Blake gets that. That's a legal reference.
Just matters your statistics. Okay. So looking at everyone's standings, look.
Let me talk about Baylor real quick, Bobby.
Yeah, go. Yeah, sorry, Jim.
I
I didn't realize you. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Baylor.
I'm at number 3. I think that them versus Texas is going to come down to that matchup versus each other, and I chose star power versus culture. I obviously know that culture is a big thing that Bobby's hanging his hat on, and culture is a big deal, but it's kind of hard to beat guys like Bijan Robinson and, Xavier Worthy on the Texas side for me. But here's my thing with Baylor. I think they've got a great culture, but the thing is, I'm really worried about them losing guys like Jalen Petrie. I think he was a big time player for them. I think losing Tristan Ebner and Abram Smith in the run game was a big deal for them as well, because that was a thing that they really hung their hat on. I like Shapian too, but I do. I think he's very talented, but having that dynamic dude, that running back position was a big deal for them. It would break down defenses, and it really opened up where Gary Bohannon and Blake Shapian got to play well. I think that's going to be a big loss for them, and I still think they're very good, because don't get me wrong, I think like Siaki Ika, I think that's the big boy in the middle as well for them. They have, I think Dylan Doyle was like a really good player for them at linebacker last year that I saw. I'm not really sold as much on their defensive culture being as good as it was last year, because I thought Petrie was such a good glue guy, but it's still going to be there, but they just don't have the stars to move forward.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I agree with that. I just agree a little bit more with the culture. And shout out to Dave Aranda for releasing a quarterback in spring practice like a true man, and saying that Blake Shapen was going to be the starter, and allowed Gary Bohannon to go get another starting job, unlike a lot of other college programs, including my own. So,
was that hey, if that was a dig at Lincoln Riley, we agreed. That guy sucks.
No, I think that's a lot of coaches. Like, a lot of coaches are going to have a quarterback competition just to keep the players on their roster in case one gets injured or something goes wrong. Like, it takes some cojones to say, like, hey, go on and find another starting job somewhere else, instead of like just saying like, oh, this is gonna go deep into the fall and ruin a guy's career. So
I gotcha. I think that's fair. Ty, what you reading there, bud?
The law.
Oh, sorry. Yes, as I am not to brag, obviously y'all's resumes outperform mine, but I am a bit of a financially trained individual, so to speak. So I was just reading my dictionary of finance and investment terms, and it really had me thinking about, because this is a gambling podcast, this is the weekend spread where we sort of cover those best gambling bits. I was just reading about risk adjusted returns, and then I was also reading about various other financial terms, and that had me thinking of who I have as my number one team, because it is such a slam dunk investment, really. And we talk about these sort of preseason bets, because again, this is a gambling podcast. Link in the bio and some other stuff in the bio. If you do have a gambling problem, please seek help. Reference your bio on wherever you're consuming this podcast. But if you do gamble, shout out to DraftKings. But we talk about these preseason bets as such a long-term investment. And when you're looking at long-term investments, there's things like, CDs, and they're not necessarily investments, but bonds and long-term stock looks and things of the sort. But if you're going to put something long-term, and not necessarily long-term, but long-term in the realm of sports gambling, I think you can't go any better than what our number one pick here is about to be. So I don't want to necessarily reveal mine. I want to keep an air of mystery over what it could be. Certainly our intelligent listeners may be able to predict, because they can predict the markets, and that's why they are smart and they've tuned into this podcast. So I'll go back to reading and let you guys go back to what you were doing.
Well, looking at the teams available, let's just say there's only one. Oklahoma predicted unanimously by all four of us to win the Big 12. Nature is healing, everybody. It's good to see. So let's just kick this off by asking the non-OU fan, Boatin Blake, what did you see in the Sooners this year? And how confident are you in this? And what do you think it's that concrete, or do you think it's a little shaky?
I think it's more on the shaky end. I really went back and forth because, when you look at it on paper, I think the OU team that's returning, if you just look at the roster, is worse than last year. But somehow I'm coming to the opinion that they are going to perform significantly better. And so, I look into it more, and, I think Venables is... For the most part, I think he'll be great on the defensive end for them this year. I think Ty has been right all along about Alex Grinch and the speed defense thing. That doesn't work, and we've seen year after year after year, OU defense is really their one hindrance. Now, boo, we're not on Team Bobby, but I just think for some reason, maybe this is just because I'm going back to tradition, and it's I can't imagine OU not being there 2 years in a row, but I don't know. I don't really like Dylan Gabriel that much. It's probably just because he's a lefty. I hate watching him throw. It's ugly. It's abysmal. I agree with some of Ty's takes that I don't think y'all's wide receiving core is really that good, and I didn't think you have many pieces. I just don't think y'all have the pieces, but then I still arrive at the fact that, when I did your projected record, I came at 12-0. So I'm how did I get here? Why is this? But I think y'all are going to make it. If you're not 1, you're 2, and you're probably going to win that game. But it's just the roster is worse. I think the roster is worse this year, and I don't know how I arrive at a better result with, I think, a coaching staff that's better in some ways, but also worse. So I just had him at 1, I think, just because of tradition.
That's fair. I'm going to save Ty for last. Jamison, your thoughts on OU topping the table, and your confidence level in this.
Yeah, and I feel very, very confident about this. I really don't believe too much into the Big 12 this year. I said it earlier in the podcast, and I'll say it again. I think there's a lot of weakness in it. And, obviously picking Texas at 2, that shows that a team like that, with a lot of uncertainty and some weird culture, can get to number 2. That's how I feel about these other teams. Baylor just doesn't scream, sexy pick for me, to where they could be, a number 2 or a number 1 team. Now, obviously I put TCU 4. So do we even need to talk, Blake? I mean, no. Here's my thing with OU, and this is why they're going to be the number 1 team in the Big 12. And I'm not worried about it. It's because they have consistency and solidarity across the whole roster, to where I'm not worried about one position on this team. I think offensive line, this team is going to be really special with that. I've talked about how much I think McCabe Tower has been really good at the guard position. Andrew Rame staying healthy. Chris Murray, being a veteran, and then having a potential top draft pick with Anton Harrison if he puts the pieces together, and Wanye Morris finally coming into his own. That is a really, really damn good offensive lineman. They're going to move people. And I think people are going to have a lot of trouble, even if Dylan Gabriel isn't this flashy, good-looking throwing quarterback that Blake is saying. I just think that we're just going to be – the big guys are going to be moving forward, and we're just going to be scoring fast. On the defensive end, if you had to say defensive line is my biggest worry, it'd have to be. But I think we've got a really good, solid team around it with a lot of leadership and some up-and-coming players like Danny Stutzman, to where you can't say how deep this defense is and this offense is and how solid each position group is on any other team in the Big 12. Big 12 teams, Texas, Baylor, TCU, OSU, all have weaknesses in certain position groups. I feel like we do not have a weakness. We are.
You have weaknesses, wide receiver.
No. Oh, here's the thing. I don't think it's like a glaring like handicap. If you're saying Marvin Mims and Theo Weiss and
Drake Stoops.
Drake Stoops, and I think Jalil Farouk's going to take a big jump for us this year. Yes, it is not the strongest, but it's not like I look at that and I'm like, ooh, that wide receiving crew is going to hurt us. Like, that's going to make it where we could lose a game. I said that last year with our right tackle. I thought that our tackles were extremely weak, and it caused us to lose a lot of games because stupid penalties and missed blocks. And in this season, what I'm saying, yes, we're not the strongest. I wouldn't say we're an A grade at every single position group. I'm just saying I feel good and confident in all of the positions. And that's something that not a lot of football teams can say.
Yeah, no, I feel like this team's a lot more well-rounded than it was last year. And, I'd like to say, if last year taught us anything, it's that we have no damn idea what the hell's going on, truly. But at that same time, I feel better about this culture. I feel better about the team going forward. And yeah, it's going to be weaker in some aspects, but I feel like overall it's going to be stronger in others. Ultimately, it's going to come down to how Jeff Levy's offense performs, how that works, and essentially if the guys in-house already can, put up with Venables' defensive system, if they can play to his standards, which, honestly, he's probably going to have to pare it back some from what you saw at Clemson in terms of technicality, in terms of extravagance. But I think at its core, I think Oklahoma, in an uncertain, weird year, they're just, I like their odds to bounce back, figure it out just a bit more than I like really anybody else. I think Venables has the right thing going, and I'll say this. They're going to be up to play every game. I don't see them blowing it against Kansas. I don't see them coming out flat against like a West Virginia at home. I just, the type
What
of
happened with
energy in this
Clemson last
program-
year, though?
What's that?
What happened with Clemson last year, though, with Brett Venables?
Lost to Georgia and NC
Clemson was
State.
the only reason that team won, or defense was the only reason that team won any games.
Yeah, their offense was anemic.
He held Georgia.
What in the world are you
He held
talking
Georgia to what? A field goal and the other
Stetson
and a
Bennett,
defensive touchdown.
He held.
Which is-
I
Stetson
love y'all.
Bennett.
I love when y'all get so triggered about Brent
no.
that you can't
No.
say one bad thing about him.
No,
that
the
defense wasn't the issue.
him, but like it's absurd to say what happened. Clemson was not good last year. The only reason that they were a 10+ win team, which is absurd, is because of the defense. It's like you can't they could not score against anyone. It's you can trash the defense. The defense was on the field like 90% of the time. The defense was the only thing that team had.
Oh yeah, if we had DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback, then yeah, I'd be a little worried. But we don't.
I don't know what we don't know about Dylan Gabriel.
I mean, I think that's also a big thing. His health is huge, but I think
we really don't know. The thing is, if Dylan Gabriel goes down, y'all are screwed. Your quarterback room is not good.
No, we all agree with that. I think we all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, we're betting on these teams to be healthy. Injuries are random, so I think I'm not and again, not 100% confident in this, but I feel like the team Venables is inheriting is really not that bad, and I feel like the culture he's bringing, the defensive scheme, is better, and it arguably, you could say that the offense wasn't even that good anyways last year, scheme-wise. It was Caleb Williams going nuts, and that's about it. So I'm okay with Levy. I'm not saying he's better than what.
Oh, you're okay with Levy?
I'm okay with Levy. I'm okay with him. What? Okay, shut up.
No,
Yeah,
please don't make it. No, hey,
You know what I
hey,
meant.
Hey, advertiser friendly, only bits.
Sorry.
You know what I meant. I'm okay with Levy's offense. Maybe the other stuff, not sure. But I don't know. I feel like they're balanced enough to win it. I feel like they can make a run, and it would be obviously a massive accomplishment to win it. But yeah, they're my pick.
I will say OU, like last year, like we talk about like how they really underperformed. They just lost 2 key games. That's really all they did. Like they just lost one to OSU and one to Baylor, and that like ruined that. Basically made sure that they won in the Big 12 championship. Like they were there the entire year. It was just final game.
They were like 10 yards away.
Yep.
And that Baylor game, even, you know what, it was 10
It was
to
close.
7.
It was, yeah. It was
into,
close. And it really was, like, I will give y'all this, like, the Lincoln Riley fodder that y'all want. Like, him, like, snip-snapping the quarterbacks that game was a ridiculous move. Like, let a guy find a groove and go, or, like, make that switch and go. But it was a preposterous move, what he did in that Baylor game.
Yeah, it was very bad. And, you know, honestly, that team just felt off all year, and they still almost won the damn thing. They still almost made a playoff run. So, I don't know. With the right coaches, with the right culture involved, I feel like it could work. But, you know, again, we don't really know that. But, Ty, I don't know. You're brandishing a cigar. You look like you know it. Look, I loved your presentation before it. I wanted you to close us out on why the Sooners are going to win the Big 12.
So let me preface this, right? And this is no joke. I blocked off 2 full hours to preparing for this podcast, and I dedicated about 15 to 20 minutes of that to really studying 9 out of 10 teams. And then I really truly dedicated an hour and 40 minutes or so of just studying bullet points and reasons and talking points as to why OU is going to win this conference. And what it came down to was, after I studied the other 9 teams and I looked at my timer and I had an hour 40 minutes left, and then I spent that hour and 40 minutes deep locked into my computer. And what I came away with was, once I ran to you, now I'll run from you. This tainted love you've given, I give you all a boy could give you. Take my tears, and that's not nearly all. Oh, tainted love. And that's exactly right. Do you know what I did for that hour and 40 minutes? I listened to Tainted Love on repeat for an hour and 40, nothing. Sensory deprivation. Turned off the lights, closed my eyes. I turned on a 10-hour loop of Tainted Love on YouTube, and I listened to it. Why? Because it's obvious. OU's going to win. I've got the victory cigar out right now. You know the feds are listening. This is not Cuban, therefore. This is whatever is legal for a cigar. It's also actually not Cuban. I just wanted to imply that it came like pre-cut or whatever.
Remember when Bobby ate a crow last year?
And I've smoking it. I think that's a term. I don't know how smoking goes. I have my vape right here. I'm a vapor. But yeah, OU's
tobacco,
got this.
by the way.
There's nothing.
Feds, it's tobacco.
This is there's not tobacco in my vape, Bobby.
It's ink. It's ink.
A pilot.
It's ink.
It's the 07. A lot of people disrespect the 07, but
I'm an 05 man.
But well, you gotta have a light touch. That's what it's all about. So yeah, there's no explanation. We've gone on for an hour and 30 minutes talking about these garbage teams to appease the rest of the conference. The conference is trash. If the conference
okay, I gotta step in here.
Good, we'd be staying there. If the conference was good, we'd be staying there. It's a money-making business. We've got to get to where we make the money. We're doing that.
It's not a good on-field product. Y'all are just going to a conference where it's Georgia, Alabama every year. Like, that's going to be fun. Like, at least our conference, it's going to be...
It's a money-making business.
But where do you see the money? It's not your money. It's some invisible money that...
We don't see the money right now. Yeah, well, okay. Don't send me off on my tangent about how college football programs currently are in no way related to the universities. They're just sort of thinly veiled money-making things that try to hide in this sort of non-profit world of universities and education. And they're going to branch off soon, here and there. Again, it depends on what is. But yeah, this is OU's conference. There's no analysis needed. I'll recite the rest of Tainted Love. It's probably not copyright friendly, so I guess I won't. But
well, I mean, you can sing it. That's original performance. But I don't think anyone really wants that.
Let's not do that.
I don't think nobody wants that.
Can I
Jamison,
make one note?
I believe you had a program note.
Yeah, I am hurting because I must have missed this. I saw that the Wyoming transfer Isaiah Nair for Texas. Hurt out for the season as of a couple days ago. Missed that. That hurts, but it's okay. We're still rolling with Texas. I think Jordan Whittington's a pretty good wide receiver too. But Xavier is obviously going to help us.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for sure.
I just used Texas as us. I'm so sorry. Okay, just carry on.
Hey, well, to be fair, this is a podcast. To be fair, you and Ty regularly flip Hook'em Horn, so it's not exactly like
that has never once occurred.
Sure. Okay.
There's no
you just agreed with me. No, you just agreed with me. Stop the count. You just agreed. We can move on. That has never occurred.
Folks, I think that's about it. And you know what that means? You know what it means now that the weekend spread has finished its last season preview? It's week 0 time, baby. Yeah, that's right. Next time we're getting the crew together, we are starting this thing off. A full march towards gambling supremacy to see which one of us can pick the best. And guys, I think we can announce it. What's our punishment going to be this year?
The 999, baby.
999. What, Jamison, explain to us what the 999 is.
Well, you guys know, if you watched us last year, that our punishment was to eat a dog as fast as you can every single day, and then 2 on Sundays for, was it 2 weeks that we had to do it?
It was just 1 week.
It was just 1 week? Oh, that was nice. That's very nice of us. Now we decided we're not going to elongate our punishment over 1 week. We're going to put it into one baseball game, 9 by 9 by 9, 9 innings, 9 hot dogs, and 9 beers each inning. It's going to be
each inning. No, or one per inning. One per inning. One per inning.
One per inning. Might be
9 beers, 9 dogs over the course of 9 innings.
Yeah, we are absolutely psychopaths drinking 81 beers. Okay. Yeah. But
hey, call it the
9
Kobe.
beers, 9 dogs, 9 innings. And man, what I love to see Blake lose this year. So we are on Team Blake because Bobby's destined to lose many of things, but Blake has been shivering in his boots ever since we set this punishment.
I can't do it. I know I can't. So that's why I'm like, I gotta win this. I can't do the punishment. There's no way. I don't think I can watch 9 innings. That's something I can do, but the equivalent together, maybe 9 beers, but definitely not 9 hot dogs. So
you gotta try.
We're just hoping future me doesn't have to figure out that problem, and we can just win this.
The 9 innings is less of like a fun thing and more of like a clock on you that could expire at any moment.
You pray for tons of runs, and tons of runs. You do not want a no-hitter. You do not want a dual no-hitter going into the 8th with this one.
Yeah, currently tentatively scheduled for OUTCU weekend, the baseball one at Aldell Mitchell Ballpark, but we'll see how that pans out. So yeah, I don't know. Should be fun. Ty, are you gonna win this year? You've been up and down.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say.
You asked if I was gonna win. Yeah.
From the
there
hit,
you go.
I'm not gonna lose. I know that. That's
cool,
easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's gonna lose? I don't know. Not me, certainly.
Not Ty.
Definitely not last year.
No.
I did not lose. I tied for last.
We've all lost.
Had there been a tiebreaker, I probably would have won it.
Is there going to be a tiebreaker for this, or is a tie for last? We're doing.
Theoretically, if 3 people tie for last, all 3 have to do it.
Yes.
I really feel like there should be. I really feel like a tiebreaker would be more fun because it's like double.
Let's make the tiebreaker
the bowl pick'em.
I wasn't going to say bowl pick'em. No, because bowl pick'em's different. I was going to say if you hit your.
Let's go back to this podcast as the tiebreaker.
I like it.
People should.
Or I say we do.
People should not get to put K-State without
coin
because you've been able to do this without. You did this without punishment. You should be held accountable for the heinous crimes that you've committed by predicting K-State at 3.
We are not using
right.
this podcast.
I'm winning the weekend spread, so I don't know.
No, I think flip a coin. The coin decides
We'll have this conversation off air. We will get to y'all on this, but because we're just gonna keep arguing about it. If y'all listen to this whole pod, you realize how much we argued.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, well, look, next time we're having the weekend spread boys together, we'll be breaking down week 0. So that's it's Nebraska, Northwestern in Ireland, Then you got Wyoming at Illinois, and then the best one of all, Vanderbilt at Hawaii. So lots of good stuff there. We can't wait to get this season going. And for all of y'all who've been watching our previews, thank you so much. It's about to get a lot better. So stick with us. So for me, Ty, Jamison, and the captain, Boatin Blake, this has been the Weekend Spread Big 12 preview. We'll see you soon, and good luck out there, everybody.